It's 1 year on from Qatar's Festival of Football. Messi was finally crowned a world champion, whilst Morocco made history in the African game. So let's take a look back at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Hello there and welcome to Football Now from the Lusail Stadium here in Qatar. After 32 teams battled it out for glory here in the Middle East, it was this very pitch behind me where Lionel Messi and Argentina were crowned champions of the world, which was the greatest match that we have possibly ever seen. It was a tournament that was historic for the region too. So let's begin this week's show by reminding ourselves of some of the highlights of a World Cup which many have called the best of all time. After a stunning opening ceremony at the Al Bayt Stadium, the dream start for hosts Qatar wasn't quite to be. A double from Enner Valencia ensured that Ecuador got their tournament up and running smoothly. The biggest shock of the group stage so far was no doubt Saudi Arabia beating eventual champions Argentina. Despite taking an early lead, La Albiceleste were undone by two quick-fire second-half goals. Morocco's fairy tale story began with them winning Group F ahead of both Belgium and Croatia. They then went on to dramatically defeat Spain and Portugal in the knockouts to become the first ever African side to reach a World Cup semi-final. The rest of the knockouts saw some of the most dramatic games the tournament has ever seen. Argentina versus the Netherlands was a spectacle that no one will ever forget, ending 2-2 and being decided with tense penalties. Brazil also saw their fate decided in the shootout after a 1-1 draw against Croatia. It all set the stage for the final in Lusail, which will live long in the memory of millions of football fans around the world.
I think Qatar 2022 was the best World Cup we've seen as far as football, and there were so many plot lines, starting with Saudi Arabia shocking Argentina all the way through to Argentina winning the World Cup and Messi finally lifting the famous trophy, plus many of the other games in terms of their quality and all of the shocks that we saw. I think we can call it the best and the most dramatic World Cup that we've seen across the whole tournament, and that obviously made it highly engaging. I think away from the football side, one of the other things that made it a very unique World Cup is it was effectively a one-city World Cup. It was called Qatar 2022, but it was effectively a Doha World Cup, and you could get to pretty much every stadium from the center of Doha within 30 or 35 minutes, and there was the possibility to see more than one game in a day. There were strong stadiums, well-attended games, a real buzz and atmosphere. I think it showcased Qatar and the Middle East strongly, and you just couldn't ask for a better ending than Lionel Messi finally lifting the trophy.
Yeah, some brilliant memories in there, but it was the last match that has to top it all. Kylian Mbappe, only the second man ever to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final, but it was his teammate Messi who stole the show, as he so often does. The 36-year-old played every minute of Argentina's campaign, winning 5 of 7 Player of the Match awards on offer. For Messi, the match here against France was the pinnacle of a career that has seen him win it all.
He's always saying in every single interview that there was something missing in his career, and finally he got the World Championship. Well, now that he won the Ballon d'Or, I think it was that he was waiting for that, and it was the only thing that he has in his mind. And of course, he knows that he's responsible for this happiness that the people will have forever.
Now, as we mentioned before, the World Cup here in Qatar was truly a watershed moment for football here in the Middle East. The Arab nations did their region proud, and since the tournament came to a close, there's been a huge upturn in players moving to this part of the world. So just what legacy has been left so far, and how will the impact continue going forward?
So in terms of the legacy that the World Cup has left, of course the stadiums are not just going to be used for the AFC Asian Cup in January. They're also being used for the Expo Stars League. We've seen a lot of stars come in, like Marco Verratti and Philippe Coutinho, Draxler with Al Ahly, and the attendance has definitely improved. We are seeing a lot of local fans. We saw that in the derby match with Al Rayyan against Al Arabi at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium, which is a World Cup stadium. In fact, that was the biggest amount of fan attendance in the local league ever. We're also seeing a lot of tourists come into Qatar since the World Cup, and we can't wait to have them again for the AFC Asian Cup.
Looking ahead then, this arena is set to be one of 7 World Cup stadiums that will be reused during the Asian Cup games that will take place here in Qatar during January and February. The hosts are reigning champions. They'll be looking to fend off the likes of Australia, Saudi Arabia and Japan, who all had successful World Cups in their own right. It's set to be another exciting spectacle.
I think after the World Cup, the second largest tournament would be the Asian Cup, because of how big the continent is. The teams are also doing very well from a technical perspective. I think last World Cup we saw the best ever Asian teams that qualified to the next round. We saw Japan did very well, Saudi Arabia played won against Argentina, who later on won the World Cup. So from a technical perspective, it will be a very good Asian Cup, I guess. And for us as a country, I think it's the best thing that can come only a year after the World Cup, where we can show the legacy of the World Cup and then build on that also for the future.
Yeah, a week filled with nostalgia then here in Qatar as the country looks back on one of the most significant events in its history. That is all we have time for. Do let us know your thoughts at home using the hashtag FootballNowWorldCup 2022, and we'll see you at the same time next week. Bye for now.